What up, y'all? It's Season Love, SEN, Suapi, and welcome to another episode of the Money Healing Monologues. Over here at the Money Healing Monologues, I like to open up a space to speak about the development of Black wealth, health, and excellence. So, join me every single Monday, where I like to reiterate, reteach, and dissect some shit that I just think us as a Black community should speak about. And of course, the purpose of this is to open up a conversation. So please feel free to comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, if I ruffled some feathers, comment down below and let me know. So this week, episode 20, we will be discussing manipulation of choice. Now, of course, as you know, and if you don't, I like to go down who, what, where, when, why, and how format. So I'm going to just go down the line and we're going to talk about it. All right? Boom. So starting me off with the who, I asked, who is the government? Because I feel like a lot of the times, especially like in this podcast and in general, we hear people speaking about, oh, the higher ups, the elites, the government is in control of everything, da, 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 da. But I just really wanted to like directly, you know what I'm saying, let y'all know exactly who we are speaking about when we talk about the higher ups that are manipulating our way of living and thinking. Our government is the three branches of legislation, the people that we elected to be in charge. I don't even want to say we elected because in my opinion, they will not let anybody win that they don't want to win. People in the White House, the president, all of them niggas in there, all of them, I'm not even saying niggas because then most of them is not niggas, my fault. But all of them people up there that's in the White House, the people that are governing us as an entire race of people or just entire human race of people, this population, they're governing everything, they control everything. That's who we're talking about when we talk about the higher ups, the government, the people that control everything. You know what I'm saying? And yes, as people, we do have free will as to do what we want to do. However, there needs to be people that pass all these laws and, govern the system that we all live in. Those people that are governing are the ones that are perceived to be in control. Moving me into my what, I asked, what have they done with the power given to them? So, of course, being put in these positions and having this power to literally make these big decisions for large groups of people, whether we want to bring it down to like state governments or, talking about the president of the United States or like, you know what I'm saying? All of these different things that are created in order to govern the people, that gives them power. These positions hold power in them. You know what I'm saying? These were written down and, these are documented positions that are meant to give that person the power to do, Y, X, and Z, whatever their position entitles them to do. Understanding that they have that power now that they have been elected for that specific position from what we've come to know of this government. You know what I'm saying? And why capitalism is the way that it is today, regardless of if you want to perceive this person as good or bad, or regardless if this person is good or bad themselves, because these are both perceptions, they are still consumed by greed and hate. And the reason I say that is because the system and what the foundation of what this system has been built off of, what their forefathers have manifested for what this society is today, is built off of, and the foundation of that is greed and hate. So anybody that abides by, or anybody that is newly elected into these positions, if they don't make the conscious choices to actually pivot differently, or not even want to say pivot differently, or just make the active choice to transmute all of this energy that is in this system, however that may look like for their position, in my opinion, I feel like they're feeding into the foundation of it, the greed and the hate of what it was built off of. know what I'm saying? Because the way that the laws are made and the way that the whole entire system is structured is literally to keep our community and other minority communities at a disadvantage. Systematic racism, systematic oppression. This was built in. It was integrated into them making it. So we can't expect this system to give a fuck about us or care about us, because even if we elect new people, even if we vote for these new people that supposedly say that they're going to do this, that, and the third, if they submit to this system, then they're feeding into it, in my opinion. I'm not saying that somebody can't take that position and make change and start transmuting the energy into something that's more beneficial and, play, like, weighs out the battlefield. Like, somebody can definitely hold the power to be able to do that. However, what I'm saying is they're in for a tough fucking ride, because there's so many different loops that were put there purposely so that it's difficult to obtain this sense of equality. They don't want us there. They don't want us to be equal. They don't want it to be a, cohesive society, which is why there's all these loops. There's all these different positions that are put in places to make decisions together for a collective. That's why there's so many different voting processes and shit like that. I think that whoever's elected in these positions, they use the power to control our perception. The reason why I bring up the hate and the greed of the foundation that this system was built on is because that has trickled and manifested into how modern day society looks like today, where, there is rarely any justice for people of our skin color. There's still so much systematic oppression that is set in stone, that is law. You know what I'm saying? I think it took until this year for them to actually criminalize lynching. People put in these positions of power have the control to manipulate our perceptions of things, and then in turn manipulating our choices. Where I asked, where do we see manipulation occur in everyday life? Let's talk about how we see this in everyday life, how it affects us in everyday life. What I said, my answer to that was with marketing and advertising. They tell us what we need, and in turn, that's just more reasons to spend more money. You know what I'm saying? Money is like their shit. We've used money to control us for a very, very long time, in my opinion. Marketing and advertising, the way that things are sold to us, the way that things are presented to us, one can see and one can perceive this abundance of choices as a good thing, because we all have free will and we deserve to have different options to add to our life. You know what I mean? We deserve to have that luxury of just being able to choose differently. However, I think this necessity for money and this collective belief of money is rooted in, the hate and the greed that this system was built off of, which is why it's used against people a lot of the times. Everything is money. You have to wake up to make money, and then the next day spend the money. It's a cycle. Money is made to be spent. You feel me? And of course, there's a duality to everything. I'm not saying that, us having an abundance of choices is a bad thing. I'm just saying, when we talk about why we think we need these things, it's because they're literally plastered in our faces. Back in the propaganda days, you know what I'm saying? These advertisements tell us how to think. You know what I'm saying? They're created with a certain energy and a certain mood in order to make us feel certain ways. So if we're consuming all of this media, we're consuming all of this projected perception, at some point we just have no choice but to internalize it and regurgitate it within ourselves, in turn making that the basis of our decision making. Does that make sense? Because we can only make decisions based off of the shit that we know, the things that we've experienced. You know what I mean? So if the things that we're experiencing is set in place in order to make us do a certain thing, how much control do we really have over our perceptions? Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying? It's a kind of a head bust, but I hope you're following me. I hope you're following me, bro. Because this bust my scolati too when I was really like thinking about this and really, getting ready to make this episode. Like, it's a head bust. It's a really something to wrap your head around. But once you do, you'll get it, bro. Going into my when, I asked, when can we experience this manipulation? How we experience it, how us as people experience it. We experience it through the things that we learn, the information that we're fed from when we're children, the ideals that we're taught when we're growing up, and where those ideals come from. Because if we're talking about generations and generations and generations and generations, like, we come from generations of trauma, regardless of what race you want to identify as, you know what I'm saying? But for Black people specifically, since that's who I'm speaking to, we come from years and years and years of trauma. Understanding that our parents' was manipulated and beaten and all of these things. You know what I'm saying? And the system is the same exact way from how it was back then. Of course, we're going to perceive this manipulation as different, but that does not excuse it from what it actually is, which is manipulation. Bringing me into my why, I asked, why is this crucial? And I said, this is crucial because it's really time to just reiterate our mindsets, reiterate our whole entire ways of thinking. Everything that we think that we believe in, all the ideals, all the ritualistic things that we're so used to doing, every single last thing, it deserves to be reiterated, torn up from the root, and examined and just redefined for yourself, because you deserve to have the choice over your entire life, over every single thing that you do in your life. You deserve to have a choice over that. And you are deprived of that choice by staying complacent in this system, because this system was created to oppress us. So I just think it's so important to reiterate shit, and that's the whole entire point of my podcast. You know what I mean? So I'm grateful that you're here listening in and opening your mind and freeing yourself from the shackles of the manipulation that this government has projected onto our people for years. Gangsta. And then the how is the question that is always at the end of each podcast and will be in the description if you're listening in on YouTube, or in the question box if you're listening in on Spotify, Anchor, or Apple Podcast. The question for this week is, how do you perceive your ability to choose? Perceived it in this rebellious nature. Like, I say this in a lot of my podcasts and in my other segment on my YouTube channel, just how I have always had this innate rebellious nature to me that really took my brain on the trip of never doing what was expected of me. You know what I'm saying? I would rebel against all of that and question fucking everything. Like, I wouldn't abide by it. Like, I was literally probably the most annoying person in my math class because I fucking hated math. Jesus Christ. Like, oh my gosh, anything that my brain didn't gravitate towards, or anything that my brain just would not accept or wouldn't compute or would not understand, I would literally rebel against it. You know what I'm saying? And of course, in different ways, that deprived me of learning things that may have been valuable to me and my, being. But that has allowed me to grow in a way where I understand to a really deep level that it's not what you say, it is how you say it. It is not what you're trying to teach me, it is how you are trying to teach me. If you're going to yell at me, or if you're going to say it in a condescending way, or you're going to try to teach me in a way where it's like you don't really give a fuck about your job, girl, then why should I give a fuck about this? Why should I care about anything that you're saying to me right now if you can't figure out a way how to regulate your own emotions in order to tell me this valuable information? Because if it was oh so valuable, you would be able to communicate it in a way that is applicable for people to learn. But of course, everybody can't understand and accept that, because the school system is taught to literally make everybody the same. You know what I'm saying? It's not created in a way to respect everybody's individuality and the way that everybody learns. And in turn, I don't respect that. Fuck that. And fuck school. Fuck the system. I'm weak. Imagine. What the fuck? But yeah, that's how I perceive and have always perceived my ability to choose. And that's still how I perceive it now. Gangsta. I used to do literally the opposite of what people would tell me. People tell me, oh, Autumn, you can't do that. You can't do that. Say word to your dad, I can't do that. Say word. Like, say word right now. They said word, I was going to go do that thing. I'm weak. And I dead used to do it. I'm weak. I dead ass used to do it too. It was crazy. Like, people don't have that much control over my, emotional state now. But like, when my inner child, she used to be shaking and rolling, shaking the whole entire fucking room. On that note, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Money Healing Monologues. I really appreciate you for being here. Thank you so much for tuning in and chilling with me for a few and hearing my perspective. I love having you here, and I love being able to shed my light in a way to help people open their minds and free themselves. You feel me? So once again, don't forget to answer the question down below in the description box if you're tuning in on YouTube, and in the question box if you're tuning in on Anchor, Spotify, or Apple Podcast. Let me hear your thoughts. Let me know the tea. You know what I'm saying? Comment down below any other comments, questions, or concerns you got for me. Close this out. I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. All right? Peace.